Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Outlands RoyalTea, a web-based interview show in which the current crown of the Outlands has on past kings and queens of the Outlands to talk about their time upon the Stag Thrones. I'll be your host today. I am Bela Koch of the Chippendales, current king of the Outlands. I'm very excited and happy to have as my special guest Duke Darius of Jaxartes, better known as Jax. Your Grace, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, well, thank you, Your Majesty, and thank you for having me on the show. I hope we have I'm looking forward to this for a while. Let me take off my hat if you don't mind, Your Majesty. My new hairstyle is not working with it. How are you doing, Your Majesty?
So you are pretty widely known in the SCA. Like you're one of those guys that when you see them across the field, people instantly know who you are by your kit, by your look, and that's one of the things that I've always admired about you and looked up to you about, and that's one of the reasons you are an Argent Fleece of the Outlands. And so, tell us a little bit about that. How did you come to your persona and who Jax is?
Well, so a long time ago I started, and you'll like this because the name Jax I always liked, and I had to make it an SCA name, and I was looking and looking, and I could barely find any reference to the Jax, so I had to find something that worked with it. Well, there's a little river in basically the Middle East called I think it's called Jaxartes back then. It's called the Sierra Daria now. So the Scythians, which was my original persona, were crushed by Darius the Great up against the river Jaxartes long, long time ago. So my persona was that I was Darius of Jaxartes, which was, a dead son of the soldiers who died against that river. And basically, my persona evolved to where I went, became a Roman slave, became a gladiator, and then fought in all the tournaments until I, won my freedom by winning the crown and became a Roman citizen and became, first it was, Count Jax Articus or Count Jax, and then eventually Duke Jax Articus. So I went from having a Scythian persona, which was integrated into a Roman, fealty, then growing into a Roman soldier and a Roman gladiator, and all the way up to this. So it's been a long 31 years of developing my persona, And at first, and the funny thing is I got the name Jax Artist from an Iron Maiden song called Alexander the Great. In the middle of it, it says, and the Scythians were killed by the river Jaxartes. And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, they were. And I used an Iron Maiden song as my initial point of reference for finding my SCA name.
That's awesome. That makes me love it even more.
It was a hard reach to find Jax and make it work in the SCA because, back then I couldn't use Ajax. When we first started, we couldn't have heroes. We couldn't use, you couldn't be Hercules and you couldn't be Ajax, but somewhere along the line that changed and you were able to, incorporate heroic names, which I missed out on. But, I built my own name.
And I would say it's every bit as heroic as those other names, especially in the Outlands. So,
well, thank you, Master.
So you first reigned in the winter of 2002, 2003 with Her Grace Catherine of Ivorah. And then your last reign was the winter of 2017, 2018 with Countess Anna. You had a big space of time in between there, but you reigned both times as an Estrella king. Was that by design, or because I know you really love Estrella?
I do love Estrella, and I don't think it was by design. I mean, I love fighting at Estrella War, and being king at Estrella War, as you know, is exceptional. But I fought in all the crown tournaments, Your Majesty, just trying to get two under my belt. It was a long journey for me. So it just so happened that the two I won were Estrellas, and I'm glad they were. And I would like to win a summer one, but I'm just going to keep fighting in everyone because you never know. Well, I never know when it's my day. Some people do know when it's their day, but I'm not one of them.
Some people are lucky like that, or cursed like that, I guess, as the case may be.
Rorik, who just goes out and wins two, and he's like, I'm 2-0.
Yeah. So, was there a moment in time at either one of those Estrella Wars as king that really stands out to you that really made you feel like, wow, this is what it means to be king? Like that. Oh man, this is a king moment right here.
Well, so my first Estrella back in the 2003, that was I would say one of the first rain Estrellas, and it was at Estrella Mountain Park. And it rained really, really hard. And it wasn't a cold rain like we've had a couple times recently, but it was like a lot of rain, and that place flooded completely. And it was like up to 2 feet. You would see people's air mattresses floating out of their tents. There were people abandoned, and basically, I think when I felt like a king was when I was going around, honestly looking for people who needed help and getting my knights motivated and into helping everybody, and then us all just turning on and actually being knights. Not so much playing at it, but to actually going and helping those who needed help at the time. And that's when I was like, well, now I feel like I'm actually, really doing like king like things.
I'm really glad you brought that up because that's one of the things that night. I remember that night vividly, like it was just yesterday. And my tent, my armor was under 2 feet of water, and Legion took me in and gave me shelter for the evening and let me stay by their fire. But I remember everywhere there were a group of us that went out and tried to help people, and everywhere I went with those people, you were there before us, and you were running around all night long, and you were inspiring people, and you were being a hero. You were being what a king should be. And I just remember that was so inspiring. Like the next morning when everyone was getting ready for muster, like the last thing in the world I wanted to do was put on waterlogged armor and go fight. But
Right.
there was no way in hell I was going to let my king, who had spent all night rallying people and making sure people were safe, there's no way I was going to let you down and not be by your side on that field. So, like, that's for me, that was a moment that when you did that, I was like, yeah, that's what a king is supposed to do in a time of peril. So, thank you for being that hero, man. That was awesome.
But thanks, man. And it was just time and place, and I'm sure many of us would have done the same thing. But I was proud of the nights, and like every night I ran into, and I was like, guys, help me. We went into a camp, and there were some kids, and that's what really brought me to the whole we got to do something. Is there were some kids looking for their parents lost in one of the biggest storms I'd ever seen at an event, and I was like, okay, this is wrong. Let's go help people instead of not so worried about the party anymore. That'll come again, but let's get on helping people who need help. And that really turned it. And we had a great Estrella after that, even though, we were wringing ourselves out. But much times the Outlands is really strong in situations like that. At the Lilies, where we got hit with the giant tornado that touched down in the lake and wiped us out on Outlands Point. And then we all went and had a big, we all helped each other out. And the next day we had a hurricane party, which was an epic party. I mean, but when we need to be there for each other, we are, and that's what makes Outlanders so great. Well, in SCA, I see it everywhere. People do pick up when we need to help each other out.
Absolutely. And yeah, that thing, it's not uniquely Outlands, but I think as you said, the Outlands really excels when the elements are against us, as it were. Like,
We
big windstorms and dust storms at outlandish and things are blowing away. And we fix things, batten down the hatches, and keep going because that's what we do in the Outlands. So yeah, that's a very good point. Her Grace Slane brought up something that I kind of wanted to touch on. Um, she wants to know: do you prefer being king or being warlord?
Huh. Well, I got to say, I got I prefer well, I prefer being warlord. I mean, I'll be honest. But I want to be king again, not only for my wife, but for my love of the Outlands. And I want to work for the Outlands and make it, I always want to make it better every time you reign. Not better, but do the best you can for it. But being warlord is something special to me because it's the whole multi-weapon thing, which is something I've been about since I started fighting in the SCA, and being able to fight with every weapon you can come across. And then you get this amazing axe for. And now that's the question. is how many times I've been warlord. If Duchess Catherine was here, we might be able to figure it out. I know it's at least 7, but it could be 8 or 9, because I all the time see these pictures from Australia where people are king, and there I am, the warlord, giving a warlord speech, and I'm like, well, so I was his warlord too, and I'm like, there's got to be. I mean, I was Gareth's warlord. I've been your warlord a few times.
Yep.
I was Kassan's warlord. I was uh, Malgwyn's warlord. I was Conan's warlord. I don't really. If Catherine was around, she'd pull out all the old outlandish heralds and be like, "You've been warlord 8 times. Shut up." But I've had this amazing axe Kirby made so long ago in my house for so long now. I feel like it's part of my stuff. I know it's not. I'll give it back when I'm not warlord. Uh, but honestly, this was, and I don't know if people know the story of this. This was the Outlands Axe Estate when we were principal, right? So when we were just a principality, this is what we used in all our ceremonies and everything like that. And then when we became a kingdom, Kirby made us lightning, which is amazing as well. And this became the prince's axe, or to be held by the warlord when there's not a prince at the time. And luckily, there's been no prince, so it's been in my house for a long, long time.
Well, you are the warlord eternal. That is true. And I've said it before during other reigns, and I'll say it again. I think if you look up warlord in the dictionary, there's a picture of you, because in my eye, no one will ever do that job as well as you do. And so I've been blessed, as you
Well,
said,
thank
to
you.
have you as my warlord several times now, and I'm super happy that you are. So while you have the axe, that brings up another question that I like to ask past crowns. Do you have a favorite piece of regalia?
Oh yeah, well, the axe. But also, I liked it when I had Thunderhead and Lightning at the same time. Lightning is also amazing as well, and the old crowns, the originals, the relics. Those, I mean, we've had some amazing regalia in our kingdom, but the axe and the sword, I mean, they're real. They're real weapons. Um, who's that? Oh,
The Black
Johan
Duke.
saying we used to play. I know Johan knows about the axe because it used to be his.
Yep. So
But yeah, the axe and the sword are just amazing, and we just have so much great stuff in the Outlands.
that is very true. In the Outlands, we have the tradition of the ducal colors. Lord Cal of Meridies would like to know, what is your ducal color and why did you pick it?
So I'm the checkered Duke, and I think you could probably the Checky Duke, as they say in short. Basically, because honestly, black and white has always been a calming effect to me, and I know it's like the mobiles for young children, small children love black and white too. So maybe it's just that simple, but it calms me and brings me at peace, and I love. And it's actually not Checky. Now that's the story about this too. It's actually counter company because I don't have more than 2 rows. So once it's 2 rows, it's like counter company. At 3 rows, it's Checky, but I'm the Checky Duke just because I love the black and white Checky. And as somebody has said that the Checky has spread up throughout many kingdoms now because of the Brotherhood, and it just happens to come back to me. I'm sorry I did it, but I'm not sorry.
That's cool. Is there a tradition in the Outlands that is something that holds a lot of meaning to you? That you're proud that we do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, our knighting traditions I love a lot, and I have to say, when I was prince at Baltimore, was one of my most another one that could go along with my favorite times of being king or royalty was when we were knighting Stavros and Decimus, and we had that beautiful river, and at like 4 o'clock in the morning, we took the guys out in the river, and the river's freezing cold, and I went in the river as prince, and a bunch of the knights were there, and we all dunked them. And I know that there was a lot of people who did that night or at that Battlemore, and I thought that was amazing, and I thought it was super special. And the cool thing about being prince was, as soon as I went in the water, which I was super brave about, I left the guys there chilling, and I went back to my cabin tent and he had changed clothes into new ones while they were soaking wet. So that I had an advantage. But that was an amazing time going into the water with my brothers and two great guys. And then Titus was there, or Titus Tors. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it on right now. Titus was there, and a lot of the guys were there, Sirith, and it was a bonding experience. I mean, that water was cold, cold Rocky Mountain runoff. Dunking your head at 4 o'clock in the morning was amazing, and all the things, our nightly traditions, the baby knights chain and that stuff. It means so much to me, and that's why part of the reason I love those ceremonies so much, and why when we do them, I try to and I can't say at courts I don't always talk when other things are going, but when there's really serious stuff like that, I feel like there's a little bit of reverence that needs to be paid to those situations, and they require a little serious note. These are serious things happening to people who've been striving for this for a long time, and it means a lot to not just them but a lot of people. So I try to really be reverent about those things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I apologize in advance if I butcher this name, but Baroness Ramut Al Tayyiba would like to know what is one item in your SCA garb or fighting kit that you cannot live without?
Oof. Well, jeez. I've been so blessed with my, I don't know, just by my group of friends and people in the SCA. My helmet, made by Sir Richard of Wolfwood, not Wolf Arms, it really changed. It changed me. I used to fight with a closed-faced helmet that I had a hard time breathing with because you're breathing your own exhale and stuff like that. But when I switched helmets, that was really when I won my first crown, and a lot of things changed in my SCA path. I went from being a not so serious fighter to like really serious, and this helmet's been with me now for 20 years. And I mean, like you said, when you see my helmet, there's only one helmet like mine. There might be other Roman helmets around, but there's only one with a half a silver face on it, and that's Jax. And my helmet is me. It goes with me. And when I got this amazing crest from Earl Childress out of Caid, I always wanted the crest, and I never got one because I knew I wanted one from him. I'd seen his stuff before, and when I found it at Duke Guy's castle at Castle Kirk, he had two in a box, and I was like, "Who makes those?" He's like, "That guy right there." And I was like, "That." I went up and was like, "Dude, I need one," and gave him money. Then he's like, "I'm not taking orders," and I'm like, "Here's money." Will you take my money? And he did. And he's a great guy, and he's an amazing craftsman. And my helmet and my crest went so well together. And it really brought my whole kit together. And then Casca made me, as you know, an amazing set of greaves. And then my wife made me my sublarmalus. And it just all grew on that. But yeah, my helmet is me. I mean, if I didn't have if I don't think if I had my helmet, I would even fight the same.
Yeah, I can understand that. So having been crowned and given the opportunity to lead the Outlands twice, you get to, one of the great things, as you know, is getting to recognize other people and see what they do and award them for all their things. Is there an award that means more to you that you really enjoy giving out, or is there something that?
Well, the award I created during my first reign, really by a big push by Duchess Catherine, the Order of the Fallen Snow, because the whole fighting and being able to lose gracefully. I mean, being that I've lost a lot of crowns, I've had a lot of practice losing gracefully, and I didn't always do so, and but then trying to show that I was defeated well and taking that good hit and doing a great death for the guy who beat you honorably was a big deal to me. So I created the Order of the Fallen Snow, which is the best death award. And I had received them in my young youth in the SCA from other kingdoms, and we didn't have one. I had received the Order of the Fallen Swan from Aidenveld, or from a barony in Aidenveld. And I thought that was a great award, so I made that. And I really love giving it out. But I do take it seriously. I've been known to go out on the field when fighters don't fall down during a crown and push them over, because it's part of the game. It's actually in the rules. If you can't go all the way down, at least take a knee. And like I said, if you can't take a knee, then you probably should guess or maybe think twice if you should be fighting. If you can't fall down or take a knee, then you could probably get really hurt out there. So,
Absolutely. And that is a really fun award. And I really like that award a lot, but it's won as crown. I'm not going to lie. When you first created it and then I was crowned after that, I struggled with that because I wanted to recognize people for it, but I was having a hard time finding ways to do it where I didn't feel like I never wanted the recipient to think I was like, well, you suck at fighting, so here's an award, right? Because that's not what the award is. The award is really about, like what you said, showing your opponent the ultimate honor and acknowledging that they bested you that moment. And it's for the people watching, so they know immediately who won. And so it took me a
right.
while to get past that in my head and come up with ways and things to say while I was giving that award out to where I didn't feel like, the last thing I'd want to do is give somebody an award and then have them 10 years later think it was a backhanded compliment because it's not at all.
No, yeah, I would never. I hope no one would ever think that. It's completely a compliment saying, man, you're along the high echelon of fighters who will go out of your way to show respect for your opponent and sportsmanship. I mean, it really that award comes down to sportsmanship, and it's hey, here's a really good award because you have great sportsmanship, and that's how I rationalized it in my head.
Absolutely. And I'm very honored to be a recipient of that award. And from your hands, the fact that the guy that created the award gave that award to me means a lot to me. So thank you for that award, and thank you for bestowing it upon me as well.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome, and you definitely deserved it. You, like me, have put in many years, and you know the ups and downs of fighting. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose.
Yep, and that's the beautiful thing about our sport is it doesn't matter how good you are. Somebody that's first time in armor can land a lucky blow and win that day. And as especially I look at it as the better you are as a fighter, the more skilled you are, and the more achievements you have, the more important it is for you to show that you've been bested in that moment and to give them that honor because they might not ever get that again for another year or two. That's a very huge thing.
It's true, and being like a big fighter now, I remember being a young fighter and killing the counts and dukes when I was a nobody, not a nobody, but Lord Jax or Darius, and them taking the blow. That meant a lot to me. Like I beat them, and then you hate to say it, but you come across people in the game who don't get beat by people unless they're of their own station, and that's one of the things that really turns my stomach in tournaments when a young guy hits some count or a duke and they don't take it because maybe it's just they don't register it, but it's not about who you're fighting, it's about the blow that was landed at the time. If it's a good blow, it's a good blow, and if Lord Scrub got Duke badass, then Lord Scrub wins.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how it goes.
Absolutely. And that's the sport, that's what our society is based on. It's based on honor. It's based on that sportsmanship that you talk about. And yeah, those moments happen, but I think they're a lot rarer than you see, the Al-Anons and the Jacks and the Roricks. When someone beats them, they fall down and they say, great job, man.
I got a good story about that. I was at Great Western War with you at Prince, and we were running that right side, and I came across Alexander and the Horsemen, and I ran out there 9-foot spear and poked a couple guys real quick and was doing Jack's badass, here watching me back up this whole line of guys, and one of the horsemen ran up and boom, right in the belly, knocked me on my ass. I was caught flat-footed, knocked me right on my butt, and I was so proud of him. I went to the horseman camp and was like, look at this guy. He just stood up to Billy Badass and got the big kill for your team. And, I was proud of him, gave him a coin right there and was like, man, that's what we need to see out of fighters is, if you're going to be brave, be brave. That's what my daughter taught me.
That's awesome.
Your choice. Get out there and do it.
That is very true. What would you like if you could have your say? What would you like to be remembered for as King of the Outlands?
Well, I mean, I think it's for caring about the Outlands and and being that I would have to say my first reign, I was a little bit more on the wild side. I was 32 years old, so I was still in, kind of like having just a, love to party. I can't not say I didn't love to party, but I was also king of the Outlands and I was also partying. And there was a serious side to me because Duchess Catherine made me be serious. She wouldn't let me just be full party jacks. She was like, "Oh no, this is a serious game," and she taught me about the seriousness of it as my first reign went. And now my second reign, I was very seriously just trying to make the Outlands be proud of me and make the Outlands better by being king. And I think that's all what it's about. Is when it's king, it's not about you; it's about the Outlands and how can you make the Outlands better through your actions. Just trying to be a good person and support the people who are there because you have the power to bring people up every day as king of the Outlands, or take them down. If you say the wrong thing to someone at the wrong time, you could change someone's day. And you just want to try and be positive and actually be there for the people and not just be, as I said when I was crowned the first time, party jacks. I don't want to be party jacks king. I want to be, Jaxartes, the king that was there for his people and did what he could, with his time. And my first reign, I didn't have 100. I wouldn't give myself 100%. I'd probably say, because Catherine, I got like a C plus. If she hadn't have been there, I would have been like a F plus, D minus. But my second reign, I really tried, and thanks to my lovely wife, Countess Anna, who's amazingly good at all the stuff in the SCA because she grew up in it. I'd say at least solid B plus. Yeah, so I just want to strive for an A as king and try and do my best for the kingdom.
Well, I think your grading system is a little
plus the
flawed.
warlord thing. I mean, you said as king, but honestly, the warlord thing is, I love being warlord, and I'm gonna keep fighting in them until those young pups can actually beat me and take this axe from me.
Well, they got to train. They better start training now.
I'm very proud of Lord Ronan and some of the guys and their training. I think that's the kind of spirit. I don't want to push people to fight unsafely during these hard COVID times, but he's always impressed me with his spirit and his spirit of the Outlands. I could see it in him too, and I think he would be an amazing warlord among with a lot of those guys, Uhtred and stuff like that. They'd be amazing, and I hope they get the chance. But until then, it's mine, all mine.
Well, hopefully, with the vaccination being rolled out here in various areas and states, I'm hopeful we're on the back end of the pandemic and the shutdown, and we'll get to be having events and fighter practices and all those things sooner rather than later. So we'll get to see if any of those guys have done enough training to beat you or not.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to it too because I'm like, all right, these damn young pups have been really working. They're gonna make me sweat. Pull out all the old tricks.
Well, teach them some lessons. That's what they need.
Right.
So, do you remember for your reigns who you beat, who you defeated in the finals? And did you win both?
I think yeah. So my first, well, of course, my recent one was you. I beat in the finals, and that was one of those lucky shots where we tied it up so much. It just was one and another. I throw a lot of shots at you just because that's my thing. It's just to try and get past your amazing defense, and eventually I can land one. I'm lucky, and I was lucky that day. But my first time was against the great Duke Olaf, and I'll raise a toast to him. He was a great man, Duke Olaf. And that was really hard because we were way up north, and I had gone through the entire tournament undefeated, and he had one loss, so he had to beat me 4 times, and I only had to beat him twice, which is an Outlands thing, and if you're undefeated, you carry your undefeated to the finals with you, which I think is great. But he beat me 3 times in a row, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't believe I'm about to lose this after having such a great day. But he's, Duke Olaf, and he's an amazing fighter. And when there's all right, so here's a mystical story I probably shouldn't tell about this, and this is where the whole Cobra Kai and Jax thing comes into it. So we're there in the finals, and Duke Olaf's leg goes out, and he has to take a 10-minute break. And so we take a 10-minute break, and I'm standing there baking in the sun. He's up 3, I'm down 1. I can hear Aaron laughing, like, you're not going to tell the Cobra Kai story. And he's in the corner, and he comes out of the corner, and no one said anything to me. And it's not that I planned it or anything, but they said lay on, and leg shots were one of my things back then. I would pump fake the head and then hit the leg. So like right off the bat, I legged him really hard, and I hadn't even thought about it. I was just so pumped up about, I got to beat Olaf. He's beat me. And I bam threw that quick trigger shot and blasted him right in his bad leg. And then I beat him 2 more times. And everybody was like, really, Jax? Sweep the leg? You pulled the Johnny, sweep the leg on poor Duke Olaf in the finals of Crown Tournament. And I was like, oh, did I? Oh, I totally swept his leg. Shit. I am Johnny from Cobra Kai.
I don't think you're Johnny of Cobra Kai, but it is a legal target. So.
But so I won that day, and it was amazing. See Richard Harris, no mercy. It just turned out that I swept his leg, and I was victorious that day. But he's a great dude, and God bless him. That was a big win for me back then, and also Torned reminded me during that tournament that I wasn't singing, because normally I like to sing a little song in my head when I fight, and I went back to singing my song, and that also helped me, because then I quit thinking about they were doing and started thinking about the lyrics to a song and do what I do best, which is natural fighting and Zen fighting, which is just being different than everybody else and doing what works for me the best.
For sure. Did you win both of those with Sword and Madhu?
Yeah, I won both with Sword and Madhu. I was really hoping a couple crowns back ago in March, I was having a really good day with Glaive, and I really want to win one with Glaive next. I think that'd be amazing. And I feel like Glaive is the new can opener for Madhu fighters. I feel like if you're a good Glaive fighter, you might have the advantage on the Madhu fighter, especially, depending on who they are. And of course, every day is different, but I found a lot of advantages and Florentine fighters at that. Glaive versus 2-stickers it's a lot. You can control their weapons a lot more.
For sure. And
you got range for days.
That's a beautiful thing about one of the things I love about most Outlands crowns is it's a bring your best, I don't most times it's a weapon of choice, and it doesn't matter what you have in your hand. If that's what you think is your best, then that's what you should bring. And I think that's kind of what brings out the best in the Outlanders. When you see an Outlands crown, you'll see some Glaives in there. You'll see some 2-stick guys. You'll see sword and board guys. You'll see sword and Madhu guys. It's not just 80 guys with swords and shields fighting. So I think that makes us all better fighters, having to fight different styles all the time.
I find it weird that so many other kingdoms find Madhu so intimidating, or they make fun of it. I just don't get it. It doesn't register with my brain properly. I'm like, why would you not just want to know how to fight every weapon? I mean, it's not a scary thing. It's just another weapon. And I get a lot, and then, it's just really weird. It's like, well, we don't allow them in our kingdom. Like, why would you not allow a weapon that's SCA legal in your kingdom? And, if the rules say it's legal, people should not be afraid of it. It's just a weapon. And it's got a lot of weaknesses, as you know, as well as I do. And as I started fighting with Shield, in the last, since I came back, 10, 11 years ago, I really love Shield. I mean, there's so much defense, and you block shots that you don't even know people threw at you. It's amazing.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever love a Shield, but I can fight with them, and I use them.
Yeah. Well, I love them at war. I mean, it's my new standard, my little Roman warrior thing with the 4-foot spear and the shield and the gladius. Maybe it's just interesting to me because after 30 years of fighting, you want to mix it up a little bit and do something different at a straight war.
Very cool. So we have, again, I apologize if I butchered your name, Baroness Ramut Al Taiba would like to know, what was the largest item that is royalty you have had the honor to hand out that you wish you could have been given more of?
Ooh, well, so there's really two of those. Man, we were given some amazing tables by, honey. Who were we given those tables by?
Oh, I
Remember
think
the tables we gave away to everybody? I need my help.
I think it was from Lark, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Lark. Lark
Baron
made
Lark.
us amazing. It was Lark, honey. Thank you.
Yeah, it was Baron Lark.
Baron Lark made
Very
us
good stuff.
amazing tables that were amazing. You know, he gave us 17 of those, and we gave up. It was amazing to give those out, and just the generosity of a lot of our populace and the things they do. Also, gosh, man, it's never ending with the Outlands. We're gifted so many chains by Daniel. It's never ending. And then I got to give some really special chains out when I was king to people. He made amazing chains for me to give. I'm wearing one of them now. Or no, I think this is one by a student of Anna's, Anna, right? This is your this is your apprentice's chain. There's a lot of chain makers, but we've been given a lot of stuff, and the tables were amazing because that's something that people got to keep, and we tried to give them away as royalty at the royal dinner at Estrella. We gave each other kingdom. Sorry, Nero's acting up. He wants to say hi. We gave each other kingdom those, and then we gave them to people throughout the reign, and it was so generous of him. And the generosity of the Outlands never stops. But these tables were amazing. Little octagonal tables that go in your tent and they fold up flat and just beautiful work. All this stuff is beautiful. I wanted to buy some of it, and I never had those kind of funds at the time. Now I do, and now he doesn't make the stuff.
That's the way it works, right?
I would say one of the things I loved giving out the most was a lot of people when we made Sir Adrian Knight. So many people from so many other kingdoms gave us stuff to, or donated stuff for her stuff, and just seeing the outpouring of love from so many kingdoms for her when we knighted her was amazing, and it was one of my favorite things to do. Come here, buddy. And this is one of my favorite things about the whole reign.
Hi, Nero.
It's Nero. We got Nero when I was king, and he's now grown into a big old Nero. But
he's still adorable.
We've had a good time, and being king was an amazing opportunity to give back to people, and you really can't give back everything you have. It's a big drain on yourself. But the people of the Outlands and the people of other kingdoms always step up and make you a rich king by giving you these things to give to people. And it makes you look good, and it makes the Outlands look good at whole. But it's an amazing opportunity to give to people who are deserving of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've had the opportunity to be king twice, and you've been warlord multiple times, and are warlord eternal now. What does it mean to you to be king of the Outlands or to be warlord?
Well, to be warlord, it's to be the spirit of the Outlands and the heart of the Outlands, and lift them up when they need help and give them spirit. Lead by example in the morning. As you know, I like to get up super early when I'm warlord and go around and try and rally the troops. To kind of lead by example thing. I know we all had Thursday night with the Outlands party, and we all had a great time. But if I'm not willing to be out there in my armor at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock for muster, why should they be? So as a lead by example thing, I like to be out there in my gear, trying to give people a little chuckle or a laugh by saying something funny, and running around the camps. We're doing my Ragnar Lothbrok impersonation, but just to try and get people motivated in the morning. I love that part of being warlord and being the big spirit of the Outlands. I can feel the Outlands pounding through me. I know it's corny, but like in Highlander, when Connor's on the beach running with the stag, I can feel the heartbeat of the stag running with me when I'm about to go to war in the Outlands. And if I can give a little bit of energy to the rest of the Outlanders trying to start their day, that is amazing to me. and as we just discussed, as king, giving back to everybody. That's the real thing. I mean, so many people make you great when you're king, and being able to give back to the Outlands or make the whole society great. The officers who hold us up and do all these things that we don't even take a second thought of sometimes, but they're there in the background making stuff happen, and we're reaping the benefits of it. So paying them reward is the biggest thrill of being king to me. It's rewarding the great people of our kingdom.
That's very well said. Very well said. Um, I totally I understand what you say about the heartbeat of the stag and everything. That's one of the things that I think you're very well known for. You are a very passionate man when it comes to the SCA. You are very outspoken about your joy and love of this society, and especially for the Outlands. And I think that's something that is every bit you're as much known for that as you are for your prowess on the field or for being a good king or any of those other things. And that's also inspiring, man. Like, you are not afraid to show the world how you feel about this society and this kingdom, and that's awesome
Right.
for those
Yeah.
younger, newer people.
Right. I mean, I don't know if we grew up in a different time or whatnot, but I mean, like, when I found this SCA was my dream gig, man. I was like, holy shit, this thing exists. I can go out and try my best and do my best and be, and live in a kind of, we were all medieval enthusiasts, be it D&D, or I had a minor in Roman history. I just loved history. Um, I just wanted to be a part of it, and I found it. And I was lucky enough when I was 20 years old to find the SCA, and I've got to live 3/5 of my life in the Kingdom of the Outlands. Jeez, if it hadn't been for the Kingdom of the Outlands, I'd be just Dave working at I worked at UPS, and well, my second job is pretty cool, but I got in the movie industry. Um, and that's been a cool ride too. But that really squashed my SCA a lot. Work can be a real killjoy for the SCA because, as you know, sometimes it takes you away from the thing you love. And I love the SCA. Met my wife there, got my dog there. It could be a country and western song. Um, I love the SCA. It's been a huge part of my life, and without it, I wouldn't be this guy. I mean, my body is riddled in tattoos about my adventures in the SCA, and it's my not all my life, but it's 3/5 of it for sure.
Yeah, that's a big chunk, and I'm right there with you. That 3/5 of my life have been in the society and in the Outlands. So,
This
um,
last year without it has been really weird too because I want to fight, and I saw my brother Knights like Rorik struggling, like his 50th party. He wanted to fight guys, which I know has always been a big dream of his, is to fight 50 guys on his 50th. And I feel bad that I was maybe one of the guys who squashed that and was like, hey, maybe we should second guess that, just because I thought it was growing too big. I could see fighting one guy at a time, or and definitely, but we can't encourage huge gatherings until we can have huge gatherings. Or if we save one life, that's plenty. That's all I need to save to feel good about what we're doing.
absolutely, and
Just one.
that's the tough thing about the pandemic. Like, I love fighting. I've never once claimed to be a people person. I've never once claimed to be a guy that needs to be around a lot of people. But what I've realized over the last year is that I need the SCA and I need to see my friends at events and at practices and those things. And one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, not just as king, but just in this game, is cancel all activities to make sure that no one dies. That's a tough thing.
Right?
And
Yeah, and then I mean, you're the bad guy for that. Even if you're the good guy to 80% of the people, we'll just go 80/20, but you're bad guy to 20% of the people. It sucks to be the bad guy to 20% of the people. And that
yep,
was one of the things about being king, different from being king versus 2003 to being king versus 2017 with social media. And as a little stick a little knife in, it's not always sun and glory. When you're king nowadays, you can do something that you think is for the best for 90% of the people, and 10% of the people don't like it, and those 10% of the people send you nasty messages. And you're just like, what is this? I mean, really, you just write me and tell me I'm stupid? Thanks. I mean, honestly, I made the best decision I could at the time,
Yep.
and now you're free reign to say I'm stupid. And as king, you can't really reciprocate and be like, yeah, well, you're dumb too, because then
Yeah.
you're just a bad guy. But it's a big difference, like back in 2003 when, at least it took a while to get to you by email that you were being a dumbass instead of just an instant message. Like,
Right.
hey, that was dumb. Oh, thanks. Who are you?
Have we ever met? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a rough part of it for sure.
I'm not even sure what I did. Let's go over it again.
Well, along those lines, though, you've reigned twice. When you step down, everyone loves to give you their assessment of what you did right and what you did wrong and all those things. Was there a piece of advice that was given to you that stands out that is maybe change the way you look at things, or just stands out as good advice to hear?
Well, I don't know what to say, but Master Reese, Sir Reese, just amazing man, Northern Knight, who means the world to me, and I've always looked up to and thought he was just a great, great man. He came up and told me and my wife that he thought we had done it right and we had done it from our heart, and he thought that was the right thing to do, and that we were really great kings and queens of the Outlands, and that made a huge impact on me to hear it from someone like that who isn't like a close personal friend to me, being like, "Hey, buddy, you did a great job," but him to come out of his way and tell me that doing it from the heart was the right thing, and I think that's what I try to do my second reign, and why I teared up so much is because I just did it from the heart. I speak from the heart and do it from the heart, and it comes across that way to people. And I gave up trying to plan exactly what I was going to say or whatever, because I found that it just being me in the moment always worked, and that was the best piece of after advice, and also kind of like a pat on the back that I could ever get from someone, and it came from someone I never expect to get it from.
That's awesome. Do you have a piece of advice that you would give to somebody as a first time crown?
Yeah, I mean, it would be that, is to go with your heart. I mean, you like one of the sayings we say a lot of times: do what you know is right. And sometimes you know what's right, but you second guess yourself, and you do all the things to appease other people because the voices are telling you what to do. But if you cut through all the bullshit and cut through all the whispers and all that stuff, do what you know is right. And at least you were true to yourself. I mean, I guess maybe if you're a shitty person, what you're right is horrible. But for at least the good people of alignment, do what you know is right in your heart, and you're going to be along the right path.
Very, very well
That
said.
would be my biggest bit of advice. And hold on, I got to ask my honey for something. Honey, can I have a beverage?
While you're getting a
And
beverage,
also, we do win the first part of Crown with our stick, but our consorts, my consort, both times made me the king who I was. What I was. I might have made them queen, but they made me king. I mean, by far, all the stuff that Anna did for me while I was king, was amazing, and what she did for the Outlands was amazing. We were supposed to have a different kind of party at our Outlands party, but we ended up having it the last minute. I was like, honey, wouldn't it be cool if we did Frito pie but with venison? And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, we'll make venison Frito pie. And then we had to scrounge up like 10 pounds of venison and on the moment, and 20 pounds of bison, and she made, stayed up all night making chili so we could freeze it and then have a Frito pie, party at the Outlands. Thank you, honey. And that's one of the 1,000 things that she did that I can name, and then there's 1,000 more that she did that I don't even know she was doing. And our consorts really, really, really do the second half of it. I mean, we do the heavy lifting at the beginning, but they carry it through.
absolutely. The Outlands has been blessed with a string of amazing, strong, independent women who have sat on those thrones as queen, and each has left a mark, and each one has done amazing things for this kingdom. And like you said, we win the tournament, but we're lucky to get to reign alongside of them for the next 6 months. So well said. So there's another question here. Galen McIntosh would like to know, what is one thing you wish you had done differently?
Well, so I saw that pop up, and hi, Galen, great dude. Served amazing on my retinue. He was always there for me, never faltered once, and I mean, what a great honorable Lord Galen. Well, I'll speak real here for a second. I gave some people peerages that I was very disappointed with. Well, geez, am I gonna get in trouble? I don't know. It just immediately, like, not that they didn't deserve it or anything, but like right after I gave it to him, it was like a slap in the face, right back in my face about, like it's about time or something like that. Like, whoa, hold on, dude. I just got on the throne. I mean, it's not one king that's been reigning, and also just to spit back in your face like that when you recognize someone, it's just amazing. And there were two. Well, I shouldn't get into details, but it's amazing sometimes when you recognize people and they turn around and just and prove you wrong, and then you're like, for Pete's sake, Aaron's gonna come in here and yank the cable out of the computer. I should shut up now.
No, I get what you're saying. And especially like you did what you thought was the right thing, and then it's kind of thrown in your face, and you're like, well, maybe this is why it took so long.
Right. I mean, and then just to have not only just what they did, but to them to like backhandedly, you know, smite you. It's like, whoa, dude. I mean, or person. Why would you? Anyway,
Yeah, that's not
that
cool.
was really surprising to me, and I, and then of course the people who warned me about it, then they're like, doing the thing from The Simpsons at you, and you're like, brr! Ah. But surprising, and that's just me being truthful. Sometimes you give away big prizes and you get slapped in the face for it, and so I would say learning from that next time I'm gonna look and try to be better in my judgment and more scrutinizing, and not so just jumping into things, not researching 110% before I do something, because it comes to bite you in the butt. So from that I learned, research, 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 and see if you're what you're, because people are weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think people really understand how much homework crowns do before they give out awards. I think it's just a common misperception that someone writes a letter and then the crown goes, "Yep, I'm going to do that thing." And sometimes that's the case, but I think for the most part in the Outlands, we have crowns that, I'm going to give an award to somebody that lives 18 hours away from me and I don't know that person. I'm going to do some homework before I put my name on it.
Right, and I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. Aaron did a lot of homework, or Anna did a lot of homework, of course, too. But then sometimes I might have overrid her homework because we each have the "I want to do this during my reign" thing, and we both like, well, that's a gimme. Okay, I'll give you that. We had those kind of things. But then to be like, I should have listened to Countess Anna. You were right again. So I'll do more homework next time.
All right. Baroness Ramut has another question, which is, what is the one thing you do to encourage newer players in the SCA?
Oh, well, I mean, get out there and play. Boy, and I think it's one of the bigger things we deal with now than we did when you and I were new. We could show up in some horrible looking armor. I mean, my first and second and third suits of armor were ridiculous. I mean, my second suit of armor had fringes hanging off I don't even want to talk about it. So I just encourage people to get a kit on and get out there, fighting wise, to get out there and do it, or archery wise, get out there and do it. And once you're out there doing it, the rest will come. Don't be nervous about it. Fencing, fighting, archery, whatever it is. Once you get your feet in the water, you start getting used to the water, right? The water might seem cold at first, but you just have to get in it. And that's the thing about all of it. Don't be intimidated by, the kits nowadays are just amazing. And seeing guys come in and being like, I went to Merchants Row and bought this $1,300 helmet, like for their first helmet. And you're like, what the, wear a couple shitty helms first, decide what you like, you don't, it's not the helmet that makes the fighter. I mean, if you look good, you feel good, you fight good. I've always been a believer in that, but you just got to work with what you have at a certain time. But get out there and get in the water and do it. And that would be my biggest advice to some people is quit being timid about it. Just get out there and try it, and then you're going to meet the good people in there that are going to lead you down the right path. Or you're not. Like me, I forged my own path. I wasn't anybody's squire, but I was lucky enough to have good friends who guided me along the way too. And once I started fighting, there was a lot of horrid years of Jack's armor, but it got better. And eventually, I learned what worked for me, and that's what doing it does, is let you know what works for you and what doesn't. Like like a helmet you can't breathe in. That does not working for me.
That, very true. Is there someone in the Outlands that you would like to see have an opportunity to serve as king and queen?
Well, yeah, I think I've said this before. Tyr and geez,
Beatrice,
I can only Facebook has ruined me for SCA names.
Barrick, and Beatrice.
Yes, they would be amazing. I think that would be reinvigorating for the Outlands, and both of them would bring energy, and they have such a great liveliness and spirit to them. I think they'd make a great king and queen of the Outlands, and And then there's a couple of new people who've moved to our kingdom who would be amazing king and queen. Casca and Miss. I mean, come on, who would not? That would be insane. Casca and
That
Miss
would be
as king and
amazing.
queen of the Outlands. That'd be. Could you imagine the Aidenveld Outlands parties then? Holy mackerel!
That would be crazy for sure.
It was not just that, but they're great people, and those are two people who also live and breathe from their hearts, and anything they do would just be good and good for the kingdom. And also, we got a lot of transplants, who've come back from Aidenveld now. The
Yeah,
Snyder sisters trapped some guys and brought them here, so there's a lot of good candidates up in the running, and it'd be great to see any of them reign, but. Tyr and Beatrice would be Barker and Beatrice would be amazing. Casca and Miss would be amazing. I want them all to have a chance, but after I'm king again, it would be great. So
I like the way you think.
I'm sure I'm going to see them all in the tournament, and it's just whose day is it? So I look forward to it.
That's awesome. So Galen would also like to know if you had to pick a different persona, what would it be?
All right. Well, so if you could tell from my new COVID hairstyle and the amazing braid job that Aaron's doing, I'm growing my hair out. I'd be a Viking. I would totally be a Viking, my friend. I love the Vikings. But I'm not going to be like a Titus. I can't turn my back on the Roman legions. But I would totally go Viking. I've been enjoying the Vikings and the Last Kingdom and those shows and Britannica and now I've been reading all their sagas too. I grew up on the Roman saga and stuff like that, and the Odysseus and the Greek sagas. And now, I was never really into those, and now that I read them too, I think that's amazing stuff. And I love the show, and I just love the Viking culture. I think that'd be too. Scythians are Vikings without boats.
It's true.
It's true. They had horses, and they were amazing. Funny thing about the Scythians is like maybe one of the things I read a long time ago about the Scythians was that they were, what people might have mistaken for centaurs way back in the day, right? Because they wore the hides of the horse and they rode from afar and shot arrows. And from a distance, if you see them on a hill, you would think it was a man and a horse all at once. And that was one of the cool little mythos about the Scythians. And here's a little story about them when I was researching the Scythians. So Alexander the Great came to destroy them all, and he sent a messenger and said, I probably can't even remember this whole story. He said, we want you to surrender to us. And they sent him back they sent him back three things. They sent him a bird, a frog, and a fish. And they said, unless you're a bird and can fly into the sky, unless you're a fish and can swim into the sea, unless you're a frog and can burrow into the mud, you'll never escape the wrath of our arrows. And that was their little message. Since they couldn't speak the language back then, they just sent those three things in a bundle of arrows and said that was their answer.
That's very cool.
Trivia.
Right on. Well, it looks like we're coming up on our time limit, but before we get out of here, is there anything that you'd like to say or any stories you'd like to tell while you have the moment?
Well, no, I did want to say, I wanted to show this thing, which is when I became a Duke, a lot of great people in the Outlands came up and made this under I think the guidance of Duchess Berengaria. They made me this great ducal mantle. And it was really cool because, it was Berengaria guy, Countess Fiona, Mistress Lydia, Viscountess Misha, the Honorable Ladies Morgan and Hannah and Sherlin and Anne and Mary. They all came together and basically made my whole SCA story on this amazing ducal cloak, which each little picture shows a different portion where I proposed to my wife Anna, where I made her queen. This orange one made by Misha, which is me carrying Duke Lycurgus. Have a toast for Duke Lycurgus. Me making Catherine a duchess, and me fighting in Guy's castle and rumbling him into the Brotherhood of the Bangle were all huge steps of my cycle of life in the SCA. And it's just a little example of all the things that people do in the SCA. I mean, these people came together and made this amazing thing for me. And it took me by complete surprise. It's beautiful, but this kind of stuff happens over and over again in the SCA. And it's why, I love it so much. There's so much beauty, so much art, so much, fun and camaraderie. Like I said, it's 3/5 of my life, and it just never keeps ending. You keep saying, well, better things can't happen, but they keep happening if you try. And that's all. I'm going to keep looking forward to it. When the SCA gets back together, I'm going to keep trying for better things to happen, and we'll keep going out there and having good times. And I hope everybody can get out there again and do it with us.
I'm really looking forward to that too. Your Grace, before we get out of here, I'd like to take a moment and just say thank you for, number one, for coming on the show and telling us about your time as king and warlord. But also, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a hero to countless generations of Outlanders. Thank you for being a great example of what a knight and a peer should be. You, like I said, you've always worn your emotions and your love for this kingdom on your sleeve, and that is something that is inspiring and is makes you one of the heroes of our kingdom. And so when I was able to have this show and reach out to get you on here, I was like, this is one that I was really looking forward to just get an hour of time to just hang out and chat with you. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for all that you continue to do for the Outlands.
Well, thank you, Your Majesty. And can I say something then to everybody? His Majesty and I, a long time ago, we were on opposite ends of the field. Kind of, I don't say we might have hated each other, but we were out to get each other. And in crown tournaments, we fought as hard as we could, and we did not like each other. We, were kind of spiteful of each other and not openly doing anything bad, but, we were enemies. And it turned out 10 years ago, we discovered, holy shit, we have so much in common. It actually turns out we're very much the same, and we both turned out to be really great friends. And all I can say about that is if we step back for a second from our egos and our super egos and actually look about what's going on us, we might realize that sometimes people aren't our enemies and they are our friends. And I'm really glad that you and I became friends, Your Majesty. Here's our friendship.
Absolutely. Well said, Your Grace.
And the one other thing I want to say is franchise. All the knightly virtues, franchise, right? People say, what is franchise? This stuff is franchise, right? When you can present yourself, and your camp and your people as in a knightly state that is franchised. And that's one of the big virtues of knighthood I like to push is, everybody knows my device. Why? Because I shove it in their face.
Branding works.
So let's see people's heraldry and devices and their colors, because it's part of the game and it's one of the big parts of being a knight.
Absolutely. Once again, Your Grace, thank you for coming on. Do me a favor and give your lady a big hug for me. I can't wait to see
you. Thank you.
And
join us. Thank you very much, and I wish everybody well in the Outlands, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon at an event.
Awesome. Her Majesty will be joining us on March 13th when she will be joined by Countess Anstis Darcy. And that will be the next episode of Outlands RoyalTea. Until then, everyone continue to stay safe, wash your hands, wear your masks, social distance. We'll see you sooner rather than later. Outlands.
Outlands!